Hi, this is CPM Insights. Today we are going to look at another toolbox item, which is none other than MindStream Metadata Manager. Now you might ask, why a metadata manager for OneStream? MMM lets you work on the metadata in a real easier way. So you could load a dimension in OneStream using a flat file. You can just put a parent-child file with properties, and then that will let you load the dimension in OneStream. You could also write a SQL query and then say the parent-child column and then map it and then load that file. You could also extract hierarchies from OneStream as a flat file, like a parent-child file. So we are going to look at how that is done using MMM. So like every toolbox item, you need to download that from the MindStream Analytics site. You go to Toolbox, and then you can download Metadata Manager from there. You go in there, you can fill the details, you use your company email address, your first name, last name, company name, click submit, and then you can download the zip file for MMM. I'm not going to use the zip file from here because I'm working on some updates. So, it is not a dead tool. Like, it's not just something which is developed and go there. There were some enhancements that were requested, and there were some defects that got fixed. So I am working on that now. So I'm going to use that version, not the one here. So once you download the file from there, what you can do is you can log into your application, navigate to application, load extract, and then you can import the zip file into your application. So I'm going to go to the version that I'm working on, and we are going to use that version. So it's likewise, you will do the same thing. You will download the zip file, and then you are going to upload that zip file into your application. Once you select the zip file, you can just say load, and that will load the dashboards and the data management sequences, steps, and everything to the application. Now, once that is loaded, you can set up the solution by clicking on the Setup Tables button. So if you are upgrading from a previous version, let's say SV 101, what's going to happen is it is going to say the solution tables got upgraded. Right now, we're just installing a fresh new one, so it's going to say solution tables created. If it was existing, so let's say that I said OK, if I click again, it's going to say it already exists. So once that is done and it is successful, you can click on Launch Solution. So when it opens up, you can see the different tabs in MindStream Metadata Manager. MMM supports a load from a file, load from a SQL, and it lets you extract the metadata. And now this version that got released like 3 days back has an option to it has a sticky tab option enabled. So what I mean by that is, even if you are on a different tab, so let's say that I am invading member property, if you go to any other page and come back to the main page, it is going to remember where you were earlier. So that's a new feature that got released like 2 days back. So we are going to look at the load from file in this video. It's going to be a series where I'm going to cover all the features of MMM. This one is going to cover a load from file option. You can go to metadata and then look at how to load the metadata. So we are going to use a dimension type, and we're going to say my dimension is going to be entity, and I'm using a concept of profiles. What you can do there is you can create a profile, and what that profile is going to do is it is going to save all the operations that you are doing there. So let's say that you're going to load a file and then say that the file's delimiter is a pipe, and you're going to use a load option of replace. You're going to pick and select a dimension. All these selections that you're making are going to be saved into the profile. So the next time, if you are redoing the same thing, you don't have to do all those steps again. You can just say use this profile, and it will remember everything, and it will come back. So let's create a new profile. So I'm going to load geography, and my file is a pipe delimiter. I'm going to use a replace option. So by default, OneStream does a merge operation. And MMM has both operations in there. You can even do a replace using MMM. I'm going to pick geography dimension. So before we load this, let's take a look at our geography dimension that is existing right now in OneStream. So that is my existing geography dimension. I have all the US states in there. I have another alternate hierarchy, which is large state. So I'm going to remove the 2 parent members and then make it as a clean dimension. So I'm just going to remove those relationships, and so that's gone, and you will see them inside the orphan hierarchy. So those are now orphan members. I do have a file that I created to do this operation where I'm going to recreate the entire hierarchy with an exception of large states. So that is my file. I have a parent, child, alias, a read data group. I have a US alias, nothing filled there. And I'm going to remove the large states from here. So it's not going to be an alternate hierarchy. The member is going to be there, but it's not going to be a hierarchy. So with that, we are now going to upload that file to OneStream. So I have that file under OS tools. I am going to use that dimension extract. So once the file is uploaded, it is going to ask you to perform a column mapping. What MMM lets you do is you can load any type of file in there, like with the different columns. You can have child first and then parent. You can have alias first and then parent. Once a file is uploaded, it lets you do a column mapping where you can say which column is going to which column or which property. So if I select all these members and add that into here, that option, the multi-select, is available only on certain versions. Some versions you don't. So you can use, let's say, if you don't have multi-select, all you have to do is select them, select a row, and then move them using the add button. And if you have multi-select, you can just select all of them, or else you can select the individual row and then move them. So once the selection is done, you can then map them to the corresponding property in OneStream. So it is display member group is display member group. Parent, we are going to map it to the parent name. Read data group is going to be read data group. Alias en is nothing but description en. I'm going to say currency is currency. Child is my child name. Alias is my description. His consolidation is his consolidated. I can say IC is his IC. Once I have that information populated, let's save that and then just click on update mapping. What that will do is you will now see that these columns are now going to be renamed to the properties that exist in OneStream. Once that operation is done, you will see that some new buttons get enabled. What those like preview hierarchy, it's pretty much if you don't want to build it, just view how it is going to look like, you can click on preview hierarchy. And when you click on it, it is going to show you the hierarchy before it even gets built. So I have large states in there. There is no member underneath it. You can view East, Midwest. So you can see all those information before building it. That's what preview hierarchy does. The grid over here is only going to preview the first 50 rows only. So don't worry if you have more than 50, it is still there, but I'm just going to display only the first 50 rows. Command line arguments is an option that MMM provides so that you can use the command line. You can create a PowerShell and then use that command line argument in the PowerShell. So let's say that if I'm going to automate this, all I have to do is copy that. Let's do a Control V, Control A, Control V, come over here, create a file, and then all you have to do is get the full file path of the file that you used, and that file needs to be there on the machine where the PowerShell is getting executed. So You can use a REST API and then put the file in there and run it using a REST API. If you are on a version which does not support REST API, you can install OneStream Studio and then run a PowerShell to automate it. So we are going to look at that automation. What we are now going to do is we're just going to go in there and then build the hierarchy. So as you can see, all the operations that you did there, the file delimiter came in, the column mapping information, it kept that. It said, okay, child is mapped to child name, the alias is mapped to description. So all the operations that you did there is getting copied. Once we have all those set, you can click on build hierarchy, and that is now going to build the hierarchy for you. So that will say the dimension got loaded successfully. If you now go back to the geography dimension, you will see that total geography is in there, large state is there, however, none of the members are there. Now there is no orphans, everything got moved, and all are good. So that is how the replace option works. Now we can now look at the option with the replace and delete orphan members. Now what that does is, let's say that you want to start new. You don't want any members, like you just want to say, okay, I am going to remove Ohio from Midwest. So I just don't want the Ohio data anymore. So this is now my new hierarchy is going to look like. You can use the delete orphan members and along with the replace option to create a new hierarchy. So in this case, Midwest is going to be Midwest will only have Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Indiana. There won't be any Ohio, provided Ohio is not having any data in it. If there is data, MMM is not going to delete the member. It is going to throw an error message saying there is data there. You need to clear out that data. So let's see whether we can delete Ohio from here. Not sure whether Ohio has data. So Ohio came in. I can use delete orphan members. Now I need to perform the column mapping again. As you can see, when I uploaded the file, it went back to the columns that the file had. If you click on column mapping now, it saved all the information that you entered earlier. All you have to now do is just click on update mapping. And that will perform the column mapping again. And you can then say build the hierarchy. Now we are using delete orphan members. There is no Ohio in here. In the hierarchy, we do have Ohio. Let's see whether we can remove Ohio. So click on build hierarchy and there we go, it failed. The reason why it failed is because if you now go and look at the background job, you will see that it will talk about error removing member Ohio has data, the first data record found is that. So it will give you the first data record. It is not going to delete the member Ohio. So now if you come back to the dimension library, you will now see that Ohio became an orphan member. Midwest still kept what came in. It just said, okay, I don't want Ohio there. So it kept what is there in the file. That's what the replace is doing. Where it failed is when it tried to delete Ohio, it cannot delete it because of the data there. So you have to create a clear script which clears the data from Ohio, and then you can perform the delete operation, and that is now going to remove Ohio from the hierarchy. So for example, I know that no geography is not having data. So I'm going to bring Ohio back because I don't want that to have an error. So I'm going to just say, just delete no geography only because I know that that is not having data. Let's upload the metadata file again. I'm going to say just upload it. And again, just click on column mapping once the upload is done, and just click on update mapping. It will update the mapping. And once that mapping is updated, all you have to now do is build the hierarchy. And this time it is going to be successful because we are now not removing Ohio. Only thing that we are removing is going to be the no geography, since no geography didn't have data in there. So let's go back to geography. no orphan members because no geography didn't have data, and there is no geography in the hierarchy as well. So that's how the replace works together with the delete orphan member option. Now let's look at update member properties only function. So what that does is, if you already have the metadata in the system and all you have to do is just update some properties, you can just use that. However, this update member property option is not applicable for some of these. I am working on a version, that's why I was saying that this version is something new. It's on my machine. I'm working on a version where it can do all the property updates that shows up here. Right now, it is not going to update descriptions. It is not going to update the member assignments like the display member group. Any group assignment, it cannot do that. It is not going to do any security related ones. The access, it's not there. So it can do currency, is consolidated, and is IC right now. I'm working on a version where it will let you update all the properties. So that's pretty much limited for entity. If you go to account, again, any security related ones and any description related ones are not going to be updated. Rest of them are. So if you are going to use update member properties, keep that in mind that some of them are not working. I'm aware of it. I'm going to work on that. So let's say I'm going to now update just the currency and the consolidated operation. So I am going to now say my geography is going to be EUR, and I am not going to consolidate total geography. So if you now go to our dimension, you will see that total geography has a currency of USD and it is getting consolidated. Now let's load this file in there and upload the file. The same thing again. It's uploaded, and now let's say, oh, I went to account, so I need to now click the option to use an existing profile. So now it is going to select the dimension. So earlier when you looked at it, the dimension was not populated, but when I said use an existing profile, it knows the dimension that I was working on was geography, so I can just use that option to build it. So if you didn't catch that, so I'm going to just change this and then go to I'm going to say I'm going to account. So account, I just went into that tab and then went back into entity. Now the delimiter is a pipe. I don't have any selection in here. The moment I say geography, it is now going to bring back all the options that I used earlier. So it's at delete member operations. Orphan members was tagged as yes. You were using a pipe. Geography was the one. So this case, we're not going to do that. We're going to upload a metadata file again, and that one we will have consolidated as false and IC also as false. The currency is going to be EUR. Just perform a column mapping again. Just say that we're just going to update it, and it is done. And this time, when you do the build hierarchy, it is not going to build the hierarchy. It's only going to update the member property. That's going to be pretty faster. It just says member property update successfully. Now, if you go to the hierarchy, you will see that it became EUR and the consolidated became false. So now that we did the metadata, we updated that. Let's look at varying member property. Now, varying member property is a pretty interesting concept from OneStream. So if you look at, I'm going to use a product for doing a varying member property. What that means is it's similar to a slowly changing dimension. What I can do is there are different varying member properties. So if you go back to MMM, you can see that there are properties you can vary by a cube. There are properties you can just vary by scenario. There are properties you can vary by time and scenario and time. So we're going to use UD1, and we are going to create a new profile because we don't have a profile for that. So I'm going to just say product varying So what I mean by varying member property is, so let's say that you want to have an attribute. So text1 is similar to an attribute, and I can say that attribute for 2018 is for that coffee. I can say it is a blend. I can say 2017 is premium. So if you think about it, it's just like a slowly changing dimension. You could say this was in 2017, it was this attribute, 2018, it is this way. So you can query it by time. You can also say it is changing by a scenario type as well. So this portion of MMM, it's not going to let you do a column mapping. It uses a particular file format. So we are going to look at that file format. It is having a particular format. In there, you need to mention the member name, the scenario type, the cube type, time, the property that you're going to update, and the value. So that's the fields that are the fields that that MMM accepts, and it has to be in that order as well. It should be member name, scenario type, cube, time, property, and value. Now, once you have that information and the header in that file, we can upload the file. So I'm going to purposefully keep the delimiter as pipe, and then let's show you like what happens if you use that use a wrong delimiter. So I'm going to upload the property file. It is in my downloads folder. So I'm going to use that and then say that is the that's my varying member property. The file will upload successfully. However, everything is going to go into one single column because our delimiter is not a pipe. So we are going to reload that again. So once you fix the delimiter, it's going to go into the right columns. And as I was saying, it expects a header and then in a particular format: member, scenario, cube, time, property, and value. Now, like I was saying earlier, there is no column mapping in here because it is expecting the file to have a particular format. The same command line argument is in there. If you look at it, you can just copy the command line argument and just use that to automate. All you have to do is provide the file path, where the path is the path on the server where you are running this PowerShell. So you can just say, this is what I want. I just need that information to go in there. All those options that we selected is going to come in when you copy the command line argument, and you can just automate it. Now let's load this one and then see what happens to our varying member property. So I'm just going to say update, gets updated. When you now go to the dimension, you will now see that there is a one new item got added. You can go in and then say, what are my stored items for actual? You will see that the stored item for 2018 and actual is blend. Now, let's say that you don't want it to go by or vary that by a scenario or a cube or a time. You can also do a default. So I can say, I just want premium blend to have a default UD. So everything, you can just say it is a default, and I'm going to say this is premium. So when I say that and save the file, there's only one item. Now if I upload the file again, you can go back in there, say upload the property. It got updated, and you will see that there is a default coming in, which is everything is a default. I could say update the property, it will get updated. Now if we come back in here, premium blend is now going to have two attributes. So one is the default time, default scenario, you have a premium attribute, and for actual and 2018 you have a blend attribute. So that's how the varying member property is getting updated using MMM. You can just provide a file in a particular format and use that to update the properties. If everything goes to default, then use the keyword default and update it. So now that concludes our first series of working with MMM. We looked at how to load metadata using a file, how to replace and load, how to delete the orphan members. We looked at just updating the member properties. We also did look at updating the varying member properties and setting the default varying member property as well. So next series, we are going to look at how this all can be done using a SQL query. Thank you for watching.